Our society seems to have this collective awe for people who have found their one thing. This singular driving force that pulls their entire life into focus, giving them meaning and direction and purpose. For many of us, this is much harder to find. Moving from job to job or hobby to hobby, career to career, many of us move through life never finding this core driving goal or purpose that seems to put everything in its right place and make life have direction and make sense. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Grit by Angela Duckworth and her roadmap for getting from interest to purpose. I found this book to be absolutely exceptional, and it was very much not what I thought it was going to be when I first opened it, which was good, because based on the title, I expected to find a sort of work 20-hour days, wake up at 5 a.m., take cold showers, push yourself beyond the breaking point over and over and over again type story, but that's really not what I found. Angela's vision for personal success and mastery is very human and very compassionate, and most importantly, it really feels like it could lead to a balanced life. Angela Duckworth is a professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, where she studies grit and self-control. She is also the CEO and founder of a nonprofit called Character Lab, whose mission is to advance the science and practice of character development. In her findings, the grit scale, which is a test that she's developed to measure a person's level of grit, is the most accurate predictor on the planet for future success. In a series of studies, grit predicted with a high level of accuracy whether military recruits would graduate from elite training programs or if salespeople would stay in their jobs, whether high school students would graduate on schedule or if adults would earn their graduate degrees. So what is this magical grit and how do we get it? What I found most interesting about the book was that it was not a book about hard work and perseverance. Yes, that was part of it, but it was mostly a book about vision and about values and about understanding where you're going and why, and that is the fuel that gives you the drive, that makes you do the hard work, that gives you the passion and the purpose that gets you through the hard obstacles, that you're not just forcing it through with willpower. You're giving yourself a burning fire by aligning your goals with your passion and with your purpose. Angela lays out a 4-step roadmap to get to Grit's ultimate goal, an enduring life purpose. This roadmap goes from developing interest to curiosity to passion to purpose. The key word here being develop. Angela doesn't believe that any of this is something that we stumble upon or that just happens to us. It's a clear and concise roadmap that takes years of concerted work and effort in creating a vision and moving from an interest to a curiosity to a passion and eventually an enduring life purpose. So, number 1, interest. Passion cannot be found through introspection, only through interaction with the world. Angela does not believe that we will ever find our life purpose by sitting in our room and thinking about what it is we want to do. We have to go out there and just do a multitude of things. She shared a study in the book about 2 different groups of children. One group was the type who did a lot of things in their childhood, tried many different activities, and eventually settled on something that they wanted to do, versus the other type of child who latched onto something very quickly or was forced to by their parents and then forced through all the obstacles and forced themselves to stick with the first thing that they picked. And what they found was that the students in the first group ended up doing better in their chosen fields in the end than the ones in the second group, even though they had much less time because they started later. Taking the time to look around and find what it is that you're truly interested in before you start investing fully into it leads to better success in the end than forcing ourselves to overcome obstacles in a field that might not have really been for us. Her second point in interest was that it's not a bombshell event. This story is told to us so much in our culture. She shares several stories in the book of celebrities like Julia Childs, who said, "I had my one bite of sole meuniere and I was a chef from then on." And she said that when she looked deeper into these stories of origin, what she found was that it was not a bombshell event. It was always a series of events. It's just remembered as a bombshell because it happened to be the first event in a series that worked. But I remember in my teens and my early 20s having so many of these bombshell events. I would read an amazing book and say, that's it, I'm going to be a writer for the rest of my life. And then the interest would slowly fade, and 6 months later I'd be on to something else. And I don't remember these as being the bombshell of my life purpose because I never developed them into that. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Once you find an interest, how do you develop it into a curiosity and a passion? Number 2, curiosity. Some people get 20 years of experience, while some people get 1 year of experience 20 times in a row. The main point here in curiosity was what defeats boredom is progress. The human brain gets bored very quickly, and if we're not making consistent progress in our field over years, we will eventually slow down and get bored and want to do something else, or we'll just become disgruntled with our jobs and our careers, and we'll fall into this routine of just going through the motions. I have seen this over and over in my lifelong pursuit of learning the guitar, and over again I will go through this cycle where I'm excited about it, I get out the guitar, I'm learning and studying every day, I'm developing new material and new skills, and eventually I reach a point where I have an hour or maybe an hour and a half of new material, and my practice sessions slowly become playing the same things over and over again. I'll sit down for an hour and play the same songs I worked on the day before and the day before that, and it becomes comfortable and easy, and then slowly, without even noticing, I'll start playing less and less, and suddenly I'll look up and think, it's been 6 months since I've played the guitar, and I'll go and pull it out and start studying again, and the whole routine starts all over again. So what do? Angela believes that the best way to keep continuous improvement is through a strategy called deliberate practice, which was coined by psychologist Anders Ericsson and is a very specific structure for learning that keeps us continuously moving forward. The 5 main steps of deliberate practice go like this. Number 1, zero in on a very specific aspect of your performance that needs improvement. Number 2, set a stretch goal. This is a goal that you can barely reach on the tiptoes of your current skill level. It's not a huge jump in progress, but it's not something that feels comfortable either. It's just outside your reach. Number 3 is work on that one small thing over and over again until you get it right. And number 4 is get immediate feedback. Show it to someone or film yourself and so that you can watch yourself doing the skill. Publish the piece that you're working on. Whatever it is, find a way to put it out into the world and get feedback from it. Number 5 is go back to the beginning and create a new stretch goal for a new tiny thing. Mastery is built by slowly stacking tiny improvements one on top of the other. This was fascinating to me. I always think of mastery as this huge thing to overcome. I want to become a master at the guitar. It's this huge volume of knowledge that you have to think about that you need to work on, but breaking it down into these tiny increments and realizing that over years, mastering each one of those tiny things ends up leading to global mastery in a field. And all this talk of mastery brings us to number 3, passion. This is the stage in which mastery actually begins. For the beginner, novelty is something not seen before. For the expert, novelty is nuance. This quote really embodies her view of this stage, which is that we are now diving deep into the details of one discipline, getting to a point where we are nearing the forefront of a narrow field and diving so deep into the details that they wouldn't really be interesting to a hobbyist or a layperson, but they're fascinating to us because we are beginning to understand the finite nuances of our field, and so that each new detail we discover about it is what drives us forward. Hopefully it's not only new for us, we're actually reaching the point where it's new to the field as a whole, and we're making a contribution to the overall knowledge of our chosen field. Once we have reached this level of mastery or gone through what's called the narrows of discipline, we branch back out again and we begin to look at what we can do with this newfound expertise that we have. And this brings us to our last stage, number 4, purpose. Purpose equals the intention to contribute to the well-being of others. It's simple. It's clean. I'd never heard it said by anyone that concisely before, but yes, that's what purpose is. Purpose is to use your skills and your expertise for the benefit of others. Angela believes that developing purpose generally moves through 4 specific steps. Number 1 is the spark of interest, this glimmer that we could use our skills and mastery for the service of others. Number 2 is to observe someone who is purposeful. In every person who she studied that had a passionate and a purposeful life, at some point had a mentor, someone through whom they realized that they could accomplish things on the behalf of others. Number 3 is discovering a specific problem in the world that needs to be solved. And number 4 is realizing that I personally can help solve that problem. If you guys have made it this far in the video, I'm assuming that you are looking for more purpose and more passion and direction in your own work and your own life. So I will leave you with 4 journaling prompts or questions from the book that I found extremely interesting. Maybe you guys will find these useful in helping to develop purpose in your own career and in your own life. If you found any of this video interesting, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm, and I deeply appreciate it. Journaling prompts. Number 1, how could the work you are currently doing help the society around you? Number 2, how can you make your work more aligned with your core goals? Number 3, who is a role model for purpose who I could personally find inspiration in? Number 4, imagine yourself 15 years from now. What will be important to you then? Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.